It's the rematch we've all been waiting for. A heated rivalry, a top 6 showdown, 2 of the best quarterbacks and best offenses in the entire country going at it for a college football playoff spot in their conference's last year of existence. It's Oregon and Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. It's going to be an absolutely epic game. The only question now is who gets the win and advances to the college football playoff. That's what we're here to tell you today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks and especially that holiday special, guys, where for just $34.99, you receive every college football conference championship spread pick, every college football bowl game spread pick, and every NFL playoff spread pick. All of that for just $34.99. That's the lowest price in the entire country. No other site is giving you all that picks for just that low of a price. And no other site can guarantee a winning record with those picks, as we are hitting over 60% of our bets this season and have hit over 60% of our bets in the postseason each of the last 5 years. So if you want guaranteed winnings and one of the best deals in the country, this is a place for you. Go check it out. The link down in the description below and join our GE Nation today. So let's take a look at this game, guys. The Pac-12 championship to me is by far the best conference championship on the slate this weekend. I know the SEC championship is going to be fun. The American championship's going to be fun. But Oregon-Washington, this is the one I am most excited for. This is really, to me, the lone true playoff play-in game. The winner of this is going to the playoff. Washington, if they win, they remain undefeated. They're definitely in. Oregon, they win. They bump Washington out, and the Ducks get in. To me, it's a no-brainer. Washington obviously won the first match earlier this year, beating the Ducks 36-33 in October. They've won 2 straight in the series, beating Oregon and Eugene the year prior, but Oregon ultimately has owned this series. They've won 15 of the last 20. So obviously a bit of a tidbit there. It's awesome that this last year of the Pac-12 existence, the stakes for the championship game are so high. The last Pac-12 game ever, the stakes are so high, and the championship is between 2 heated rivals. You take a look at the numbers and take a look at the teams, right? We'll start on offense with Oregon. The question I have for you is, what can't this offense do? I mean, they are practically unstoppable. They are the number 2 overall offense in the country, averaging 541 yards per game. They have the number 1 passing attack in the country. They bumped Washington from their pedestal. Oregon is now the number 1 passing attack in the country, averaging over 352 passing yards per game. They're 25th when it comes to the ground game, 188 rushing yards per game. This Oregon team out there looks like they don't even play defenses, right? No one can stop them. They've been unstoppable. Bo Nix is out there playing against high school teams, right? 3,906 yards, 37 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, an absolute Heisman contender. Bucky Irving, over 1,000 rushing yards on the year, 10 touchdowns. Troy Franklin, over 1,300 reception yards and 14 touchdowns. And Tez Johnson very well will hit 1,000 yards in this game. This is an Oregon team that has scored 31 points in every single game this year, at least 31 points in every game this year, and only 2 games have been decided by 1 possession. An 8-point win over Texas Tech back in week 2, and their 3-point loss to Washington, which many believe that Oregon should have won had it not been for some questionable calls by Dan Lanning, and this ultimate collapse there in the final few seconds. Washington, look, don't sleep on them, right? Washington is a top 4 team for a reason. They are in this spot for a reason. Do not count them out. They're undefeated for a reason. They beat Oregon back in October for a reason. It wasn't a fluke, right? But they just keep finding ways to win. This team is 11th in overall offense, 468 yards per game. They're number 2 in passing. So number 1 passing attack, number 2 passing attack, facing off against each other. Love the offense in this game. 345 passing yards per game for Washington. The run game practically non-existent, only averaging 122 rushing yards per game there. This is a game that, as we mentioned back in the past, this is a game that Michael Penix is going to have to win. The Huskies had 99 yards rushing against Oregon back in the first meeting. That ain't going to cut it in this Pac-12 championship. If they want to win, it's the Michael Penix show. That's what it's been all year, right? This is a guy that has nearly 3,900 passing yards, 32 touchdowns on the year, just 8 interceptions. Rome Odunze has been phenomenal at wide receiver, over 1,300 reception yards and 13 touchdowns. Jalen Polk missed the last few weeks. Hopefully will be back. Jalen McMillan, he's going to be back. Health is the key in this game, right? You hope that your guy's going to be ready to go in this game and hope that Michael Penix is going to have his full arsenal of weapons here. And they're going to have themselves a massive game. But more than anything, Washington's going to need to find themselves in a position to draw out drives, right? Look, having a big 80-yard touchdown here and there is awesome. It's exciting. Get your fan base going. Gets the juices going on the sideline. But The longer you can keep Bo Nix and this offense on the sideline, the better. The longer you can keep them off the field, the better. And that's what I'm trying to do if I'm Kalen DeBoer and I'm Washington. Because you look at Oregon, you look at their defense, right? This defense is really, really good for the Ducks. 15th overall in the country, 306.9 yards per game. That's all they're giving up. They're 8th in the country versus the run, 92.6 rushing yards per game. Again, they held Washington to 99 in that first meeting. They're giving up just 214 passing yards per game. 32 sacks on the year for the Ducks, 10 forced interceptions. And since that Washington loss, they have been unbelievable. It's like that Washington loss just lit a fire under this Ducks team. They lose to Washington. They allow 36 points in the game. Since then, they're giving up just 16 points per game. That's it. They're giving up just 16 points per game since that Washington loss. The last 2 weeks, Michael Penix, guys, has looked human. The last 2 weeks, Penix has gone just 31 for 61, 366 total yards, 4 touchdowns and 1 interception, and narrow wins over Oregon State and Washington. Oregon sees that. They know they can expose that. If Oregon can generate enough pressure on Michael Penix and force at least 1 turnover and convert a touchdown off of that turnover, pick off Michael Penix and 3 plays later score a touchdown, whatever it needs to be, Oregon wins the game. You force Michael Penix into a mistake and you convert, you win the game. And it can be done. Washington defensively, they're not that great. They really aren't. 95th overall, 399.8 yards per game is what they're allowing. They're giving up over 265 passing yards per game. That passing defense ranks 124th in the country. They're solid versus the run, 42nd in the nation versus the run, which isn't bad. They've got 19 sacks, not much of a pass rush there, but if they can flush Bo Nix out of the pocket, that would be great. They forced 15 interceptions. In the last few weeks, Washington defensively has kind of been a bend but don't break team, right? Against Oregon State, bend a little bit but don't break, only allowed 20 points. Washington State, bend a little bit but don't break, allowed just 21 points. Even a couple weeks ago, about a month ago when they played Arizona State, offense wasn't doing their job. They bend a little bit but they don't break. They win the game 15-7. So they can do it. They are capable of this. But you go back and look at that first meeting against Oregon. The Huskies allowed 541 yards of offense in that game, 337 through the air, 204 on the ground. You look back at that box score, and many people question how the heck Oregon lost that game, right? Oregon outgained Washington. They won the turnover battle. They were beating them in every category except for the final score. It was those fourth down conversions that ultimately were so costly for the Ducks. They convert on a handful of those, and they win the game. So, again, they bent but didn't break fully against Oregon. Can they do it again? Can they do it again in this championship game with everything on the line? Don't allow the big plays. Bend a little bit, but come through clutch in the biggest moments, just like you did against Oregon in that first meeting. So what's going to happen, guys? What's going to happen in the Pac-12 championship? The game of the week for me by far. This is going to be, to me, a great game. And then once again, it's a very tough game to pick. Just like the first meeting back in October was an extremely tough game to pick. But let me put a comparison in your mind. I'm sure I'll get annihilated in the comments for this. But to me, Washington, so far this year, has been this year's TCU. That's in TCU from last year. Washington is a very, very good team. They are very fun to watch. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the Huskies because a win's a win's a win no matter how you get it, right? But the Huskies are barely scraping by. They have a 7-point win over Arizona, a 3-point win over Oregon, an 8-point win over Arizona State, a 9-point win against Stanford. Against that horrible Stanford offense, they allowed 33 points. A 7-point win over Utah, a 2-point win over Oregon State, a 3-point win over Washington State. Half of Washington's games this year, 6 of their 12 games, all of which have been victories, have been decided by one possession. They have been very fortunate in many of those games. TCU last year, 5 of their 12 regular season wins were decided by one possession. TCU was beating Kansas State 28-10 in the regular season, Kansas State was winning 28-10 in the regular season. TCU comes back to win the game. They have a rematch in the conference championship game. Kansas State gets their revenge, but TCU, because the teams around them were not nearly as good, because the playoff race was not as chaotic as it was this year, still managed to get into the college football playoff as a 3 seed and made the national championship game. Well, Washington, if they lose to Oregon, they don't have that benefit. If they lose to Oregon, they are not going to be TCU and staying in the college football playoff. They have to win this game. But Washington, TCU, a lot of similarities here. They beat Oregon in the regular season meeting. I don't think they get 2 wins in a row. I do not think they get a win again in the Pac-12 championship. Oregon, get their revenge over Washington. They have been by far one of the best teams in the country since that Washington loss. Really have been one of the best teams in the country all year long. They're out to prove something. Dan Lanning's got this team playing at a completely different level. The Ducks win the game. They win the Pac-12 in its final year of existence, and they will return to the college football playoff for the first time since 2014, while Washington, despite an amazing undefeated regular season, falls just short of the ultimate goal. The Ducks get their revenge, and man, the playoff, it's going to be a lot of fun. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks, especially that holiday special. $34.99 gets you every championship spread pick, every bowl game spread pick, every NFL playoff spread pick. One of the best prices in the entire country, one of the best picks in the entire country. Again, hitting over 60% of our bets this year and have done so each of the last 5 years. Do not miss out on that offer. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.